Hello everybody, and welcome back to my channel. It's always a pleasure to have you back. Welcome back. It's always a pleasure to have you back. Today I want to share on yet another childhood condition that is quite common in our communities and affects quite a number of children. Okay, so I also want to mention that this condition is non-communicable, meaning it cannot be passed on from one person to the other. It cannot be acquired from your neighbor to yourself. Neither can you transmit it from you to your neighbor. But in most instances, it is a genetic disorder. Sometimes the causes could be untraced, they could be unknown, but most times, 95% of the time, it is traced to a genetic abnormality. So today's topic under discussion is Down syndrome. So what is Down syndrome? Down syndrome is a genetic disorder that affects the mental ability, intellectual, and also the physical functioning of the baby. I'm going to say baby because Down syndrome starts from a baby since they are born with it. What are some of the signs and symptoms? So I want to also mention that these signs and symptoms are general signs and symptoms that are spread across every child that has got Down syndrome. Some of the peculiar features include a broad face, a flattened nose, low set ears, a big tongue that most times will always be sticking out. When you look at the hands, we've got 3 creases on the palm. We've got crease 1, crease 2, and the third crease. In children who've got Down syndrome, most times they only have 1 crease across the palm. Okay, when you look at the thumb, we've got 3 divisions, 1, 2, and 3, plus the thumb. But in most children who've got Down syndrome, they'll only have 2 creases on the thumb. It will only be the first and the middle crease, right, before going to the palm. And when you look at their hands also, they'll be smaller in size. Hands and feet will be smaller in size, right. Most times, like I mentioned earlier, they'll also present with some mental retardation, sometimes with delayed milestones meaning they will not be able to achieve activities that an affected child does achieve at a certain period of time. For example, a child who's like, for example, 5 or 6 months old is able to sit. Sometimes in a child who's got Down syndrome, they might not be able to sit at that age. They might delay in attaining certain activities. For example, again, a child probably by 9 months or 10 months old, they're able to stand, balancing, holding on to objects. A child with Down syndrome might not be able to walk, to stand at that age. And when you compare a child with Down syndrome to that without any Down syndrome at all, the one with Down syndrome will be slower in attaining the activities that an unaffected child attains. Okay, so now that my child or my neighbor's child or that child there has got Down syndrome, what then is the life expectancy of an individual who's got Down syndrome? The good news is, because of science and the evolving of science and studies going on and the improvement of health care delivery, Down syndrome, a long time, the life expectancy was up to 25 years old. But now, a child with Down syndrome can grow into an adult on average up to 60 years old, for as long as they've got the favorable conditions of dieting, health care, love and support from the family and community members. These children grow to be very responsible, independent citizens, especially if they've got very good support from the family members, from the community. They've got a good education. And talking about education, we shouldn't be very worried. We should not be worried at all, because most of our schools have got the special education unit where a child with Down syndrome who could have some mental retardation can go to school and receive an education. Right. We've got good healthcare services in case a child needs maybe mobility devices to help them move around, to maybe help them sit. You could take them to see a physiotherapist who's going to help the child attain those or promote the attainment of the normal developmental milestones. It is also important to incorporate that child in a lot of social activities, meaning if you are going out as a family, make sure you carry your child along. If there is swimming pool, let the child play along, but under close supervision, of course. If there's swings, let the child also experience that activity that every other child must experience as they grow. Right. Somebody would ask, what are the risk factors of having a child with Down syndrome? Okay, so I must mention also that the risk factors increase in mothers above 35 years old, but 80% of Down syndrome cases are born from mothers below the age of 35. Risks could be there, but it's not a definite fact that if you're above 35, you're going to have a Down syndrome child. If you're below the age of 35, you won't have a Down syndrome. Like I said earlier, this is just genetics. It could happen, it could not. But if at all it does happen, it's just important that we should know at least what to do, what to expect, and where to take our children for help. Right. Another thing I would like to share on concerning Down syndrome is that there are variations from one person to the other on their mental ability, physical development, intellectual, as well as behavior. Right. With favorable conditions, and favorable conditions I mean with an education, with very good support from the family, from the community, from friends, these individuals can actually grow up to be very independent, have their own families, be responsible. They can hold a job. They can actually also enjoy, the normal recreational activities. So what we just have to do is give enough support to all persons that have got Down syndrome or any other physical or mental limitation. Down syndrome is quite a long topic, but I'm hoping that I've touched on just a few important parts that can help us as we get along with persons with disabilities in general. So if you've got questions, contributions, or comments, please don't hesitate. Put your comments in the comment section below, and I'll be so excited to hear from you. Thank you so much for your time. Bye.